and welcome back to my channel. This is the last and final video in my Animal Crossing Island Entrances series, and I thought it would be only fitting if we tried out Normcore for our final build. If you're not familiar with what Normcore is, just think about the style that everyone was decorating in when the game first came out in like 2020, and people were still getting items and DIYs and using a lot of in-game pathing. Custom designs weren't quite a thing just yet, so it was a lot of like really simple DIY style builds and a lot more in-game pathing than what we see right now. I'm not really sure when Normcore got coined for the first time as a term to describe the early game style, but I've definitely seen a lot of different creators calling it this, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it that too. For this build, I wanted to use the in-game pathing, and one of the only in-game paths I've never used is that brick variation, so I wanted to give that a try, see how that would look with this, and then I figured it would be kind of easy to just move a couple of the villager houses like close to the airport just to kind of fill up the space here. I wanted to keep the build as simple as possible. It was very odd not using custom designs in this build as well. I feel like I rely really heavily on the use of custom designs in all of my builds, so at the same time that was a little bit freeing to not have to worry about like downloading codes and saving them all for you guys. So in some ways it was a lot simpler for me mentally to just try to make a very basic build. I feel like this is the style of build that would be very easy for you guys to replicate if you were looking to kind of take inspiration on your own island. You're always welcome to do that, and I do feel like this particular style is pretty easy to recreate or to like make a little version of. I'm trying to make it as symmetrical as possible. As you can see, I definitely didn't really nail the symmetry between the two houses, but that's totally fine. I decided to just go with it anyway. I am going ahead and placing some hardwood trees in between the vertical board fencing just on the corners. I feel like it's going to help sort of like frame out the build just a little bit better. I feel like I really struggled with the decorating for the two houses just because this is a little bit more like simple than what I'm used to doing, and honestly I don't know why it made it so much harder for me. But for the house over here on the left, I went ahead and made a really tiny little pond, and I was thinking to just make this like a pretty natural area. Maybe I was thinking to use a lot of DIY recipes in this area and probably just put a lot of decoy ducks everywhere, which I guess are a DIY recipe as well. So I'm just making a very small pond just mostly to fill up the space in front of the villager house. And then I started laying down the dirt pathing but alternating every other tile. I feel like it looks so cute, especially mixed in with the brick path. I feel like this is a very similar style of decorating that I've seen people doing very early in the game, and I definitely did this on my own personal island before I ever started to share things on YouTube. So it honestly made me very nostalgic for my first Animal Crossing island. I ended up deleting my first Animal Crossing island because I wanted to start fresh and start sharing my videos on a brand new island, and I honestly wish that I could go back in time and tell myself not to do that. I can't even remember what my first Animal Crossing island was named anymore, which is kind of sad to me, but it was very similar to this build in terms of like how I decorated. I just had no idea what I was doing. I remember one of the last things that I did on the island was try to make like a rainbow like flower field, and I watched that YouTube video of how to like lay out all the flowers to properly like propagate them and make different colors. I was so excited to learn that you could have flowers in different colors besides just the like red, yellow, white variations that you get when you first start the game. It's so funny. I don't know, what are your guys' earliest memories of Animal Crossing? This build definitely made me feel super nostalgic for the early game. I'm seeing a few more creators now starting to talk about their predictions for when the next game might come out, and even though I'm so excited for that, I'm really just trying to find ways to continue to enjoy the game because it really is still one of my favorite games of all time. So I feel like trying these different island entrances has really motivated me to be excited about playing Animal Crossing again. So I highly recommend trying something like this little entrance theme if you're feeling the burnout and you want to like revitalize your gameplay. I'm really excited to start doing more Let's Plays on the channel as well. I talked about that a little bit in a previous video, and I really want to start actually grinding to finish all of my Nook Mile achievements and also to finish my museum, so I'm very excited for that. But kind of back to the build, so I decided to do a little rainbow path leading up to what's going to end up being Nook's Cranny at the very end of this, and I really think it's so cute. I just think it's so fun. Definitely like a little nod to pride going on there, even though I'm a couple months late. But I just think it's adorable, and I love getting to show off those hybrid flowers because I know if this was a true Normcore island, it would be bragging rights for sure. But I'm just trying to figure out how to fill in the area just like in front of the airport. I really love adding like a sitting area in front of the airport just because I feel like it's very, like, I don't know, just on brand. When you get off the airport, you're going to want to have a place to sit and, like, you know, organize your luggage and all of that stuff. So that's kind of what I did here. And then I went ahead and used the smaller fencing because I just think that it looks so cute with the vertical board. It just matches so well. And then over here for Freckles' house, I really wanted to do a symmetrical little orchard. I feel like those are very, very 2020 Animal Crossing to me. I was kind of playing along with whether or not I wanted to do like perfect rows or if I wanted to like put a single one in the center and just do like 5 trees. So I kind of messed around with that a little bit, and then ultimately I decided to dig up that center one and make it perfectly symmetrical, which I think I saw the vast majority of people doing in early Animal Crossing days. So I think it looks super cute. And then I'm not using any custom designs, so I went ahead and left the stall in its just like very most basic form. I thought the light wood actually looked pretty cool with this like lighter fencing that we've got going on here. And then I'm just throwing down some like peach themed DIYs and of course a typewriter as somewhat of a like checkout register type of thing. I am kind of addicted to using the typewriter right now. I think it's such a cute item and I definitely need to like lay off of it, give it a little bit of a break. So if you guys have suggestions for typewriter alternatives, I would be happy. I'm about to check myself into Typewriter Anonymous, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm just throwing up some more peach themed items here to finish this off, trying to keep it as simple as humanly possible because that's kind of how the builds were in early Animal Crossing. So I'm trying not to overthink it, also trying not to like clutter up the space too much as well because I feel like there were a lot more like open spaces, especially before people started using custom designs as heavily. I absolutely love putting the stepladder in an orchard build though, and I know that's a 2.0 item. I wasn't thinking too much about making this like completely authentic to 2020 Animal Crossing, but you get the overall vibe. And then I'm throwing in some cardboard boxes and kind of like filling in empty space here with like flowers and weeds. Next to Freckles' house, I decided to kind of play off of her pink roof and do some like pink accent items off to the side. I definitely think people did a ton of color themed builds back in early Animal Crossing, so I'm trying to kind of like pull that in for that side. And then next to, I actually can't even remember whose house this is. I think this is Maggie's house. I'm literally the worst, but I just gave her a shed and a little lawnmower, which I ultimately decided to switch out for the yellow one because I thought the color themed houses was really fun. So I'm gonna play off of her yellow roof and give her like a little yellow puzzle to work on, yellow lawnmower, and I honestly think that might be it with the yellow accents, but I don't know, it was helpful, it was cute. I'm using some more DIY recipes for her home just because I felt like that was all people had to decorate with, so I wanted to make sure that I used lots of DIYs in here as well. Definitely makes this build very easy to replicate if you're looking for ideas on your island. And then I'm just throwing in like a stack of clothes and giving her a little laundry area. Laundry areas are honestly one of my favorite builds and I am just loving it. Speaking of favorite builds, I did finally start my next Animal Crossing island that I plan to actually complete and actually release a dream address for. So the next video on my channel will be the island entrance for that island. If you're following me over on Twitch or if you've discovered my live stream archive channel, you've probably already seen the first few builds on that island and I'm very excited to share it with you guys. So it's not really a secret. If you want to see how it's coming together, definitely pop over to my Twitch channel. I've been streaming on Wednesdays and Sundays, so if you're needing more Animal Crossing and more coziness in your life, definitely come and hang out with us there. But I'm so excited to start sharing some of those early builds on that island here on the channel. I'm moving over now to my Nook's Cranny build. I'm going to go ahead and use a brick staircase, and then I built up just like a square little section of cliff to put my Nook's Cranny on, which I decided to skip over for the purposes of making this speed build just a little bit faster. It really wasn't anything special in terms of terraforming. In front of here, I was so frustrated that you can't perfectly line up the stairs for Nook's Cranny with any like inclines or bridges or anything like that in the game, which honestly is so incredibly upsetting. So Animal Crossing, Nintendo, if you're listening, please, next game, just give us some symmetry. Just give us some symmetry, girl. We would thank you for it. Those kinds of quirks in the game honestly drive me absolutely insane. Also, I'm not sure if you can see Pizza Cat. He has been such an affectionate little man lately. He's been so sweet, and he's needed so much love and attention. It's been really sweet, but also just incredibly obnoxious, especially when it comes to filming videos and voiceovers for you guys. But he means well. He needs you to see him more often. It's kind of funny because he's usually a pretty standoffish cat, and he is not like a big snuggler. He kind of likes to lay next to people, but he doesn't always like to be pet and touched. So it's been interesting to me how affectionate and cuddly he's been lately. He just turned 9 this year, so I'm kind of wondering if it has something to do with like getting a little bit older maybe. But in front of Nook's Cranny, I did want to do a couple of like log benches with different items for sale. So I'm starting to fill in the area with like lots of natural items because I knew that I wanted to like surround the cliff and like almost make it look a little bit softer and more blended in with lots of like bushes and trees and things like that. So I started with that, and it kind of gave me a better indication of like how much space I actually had to put the items that I'm planning on selling. I was deciding on like a plant shop or putting out some like tools and things like that, because I feel like that feels very like beginning of the game to me. You just don't usually start off with a ton of items to decorate with, so I was trying to think of things that you might get in like your Nook's Cranny or as DIY recipes, and just stick to those like easy to obtain sort of items. So I'm really eager to hear from you guys how you think I did on this build, if I captured the style of early Animal Crossing, or did I miss the mark, and where might I have missed the mark? I'm really interested in hearing. It really did bring me back, and I reflected so much on this build, on just what this game means to me and what the community means to me, and it just felt like the perfect way to end off our entrances series. I really hope that you guys have been enjoying it so far, and we're kind of putting our finishing touches on the build at this point. Once I got to this point, I realized that I wanted to continue my like color theme that I had going on, so I started to add in a few more pops of red. And when I saw that little like, oh my gosh, I can't even remember what it's called, the present, fly over the air, I knew I was like trying to hunt it down to get it to land so I could use it as decor in this build. And the way that it landed on the pathing made me so happy. I feel like it's so perfect. I was so excited by that. But here I am starting to place my log benches and trying to position them in a semi-symmetrical way so that I can start putting items on them. It was a little bit of a struggle, especially with that pathing. It kind of drove me absolutely insane, I'm not gonna lie, but I just kind of had to deal with it in the very end. I went ahead and put some plants on there just to have a little plant shop, and then I really wanted to incorporate the red cruiser bike just to kind of tie in that red theme. I feel like it really kind of like brought it all together in some way. And then I'm using weeds to fill in any empty spaces. Definitely had to get used to seeing more empty space than what I typically leave in my Animal Crossing builds. So I actually kind of like it though. I kind of feel like maybe I've been cluttering up my island a little bit too much, because I kind of like the idea of having more space to move around. So I don't know, every time I try a new theme, I feel like I find things that I like that I want to incorporate on future islands, so that's lots of fun. And then I can't even remember that hippo's name. I think it's Biddy. I've been really bad at remembering villager names lately. It's been kind of embarrassing, but she was so interested in this entire build, she literally like would not leave this area. But I'm swapping out my slingshot that for a color that's going to be like more easy to see. And then that takes us to the end of the build. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this one. I hope that you took some inspiration from the entrances series and that you've enjoyed it. I would love to hear your thoughts on this build in the comments below. And if you had a favorite in the entrance series, I'd love to hear what your favorite theme that we've tried has been. If you have made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I will catch you very soon in the next one. Bye!